Hello, everyone, and welcome to the final episode of this season of Euphoria. I'm your host, Drakos, joined by my boy, Caedrel, and our special guest for the week, none other than Odoamne, who continues his tour of broadcast responsibilities after his tragic defeat.
Quite tragic, yeah.
Yeah, quite tragic. Glad you could be here. That's really the best part of you losing, so...
So you're telling me, that if I wouldn't have lost, I wouldn't be here?
Well,
that's exactly what we're telling you.
Practice, yes. I mean, probably, yeah. Would you have said yes on the Wednesday before your big semifinal or final appearance or whatever?
Of course.
Holy.
Shit. He's the homie.
I'm a man of the people.
We might not have invited you because you would have had to be very tight-lipped, though. You know what I mean? You would have tried to keep your secrets for yourself. You would have been like, is Yone good? Broken Blade? Question. Hard to say.
Odoamne.
But now you can let it all out.
That's true, because I'm actually practicing Yone right now. It is my new champion on the list.
Shit.
What are you practicing it for? You got like 4 months.
Yeah, but I'm going for a massive rebrand going into the next year.
Oh, okay.
I'm only going to be playing champs that you don't expect me to play. So
yeah, so you're going to be carry top?
Yone, Akali, all of the hipster champs that you would never ever associate with me. Actually, I was playing Yasuo yesterday, and I was like, how hard can this champion be, And I was just dashing through the minions and stuff, thinking I was really cool. But then I was realizing that I was just not hitting the enemy, So I was just dashing around, and I just died to like thin air,
So it sounds like it's going good.
Yeah, this is great.
And in 29 more games, and I think I'm going to be fine to dash through minions with Yasuo.
It's like the rebrand comeback, playing carry tops only, announce that you just hit your 22nd birthday. Like,
yes. I need to do the thing, because I don't know if you guys know, but back in the day, there were like so many people when they were trying to like hide their solo queue accounts and everything. They would even make like fake Twitter accounts, I think when I was in Schalke, Abe made a fake Twitter account, and he was just following everyone from like, what's it called, the Turkish, from TCL. He was just following everyone from TCL, had the TCL name and everything, TCL bio, everything. And he somehow got to like 1,000 followers on Twitter, and that was his like fake solo queue account. And he was just he was going for the mega fake,
Yeah, because you don't want people to look any deeper, right? And if they like Google your account name or whatever, and they find a Twitter account, then they're just going to assume it's a TCL player, and they're not going to look any further into it.
Yeah, because everyone, scouting is so easy now. Because the thing is, they just look at the scrim hours. So if there's an account that doesn't play in the scrim hours, then it has to be an LEC account, So you need to throw another curveball.
Yeah, I respect the commitment from Abba.
That's crazy.
Like I feel like a lot of pros have lost that, because I was just Googling Mad and Fnatic accounts the other day, and like 80% of the accounts are, like I could just Google Hillisang account, and bam. Actually, Hillisang's one of the harder ones, but like Humanoid, Razork, they all just play on their mains for the most part.
Yeah, it's easy to find them these days. I mean, I don't know. They have these like algorithms and stuff that they look, and it's like, if there any account from Diamond 2 plus, it's gonna get sniped in like 2 days.
Yeah,
that's still
I also
crazy
imagine if it's like the Riot accounts with high MMR, they look at like 5 games played, and then they see that the account is an unnaturally high MMR, or has only played like 5 games ever, right, and has come in at level 30. So it's probably pretty easy to spot every single Riot account.
Yeah,
account that has been given.
And they
by
also
Riot
have the Riot ID thing. I think, even though they removed the league, the thing from like the league website, because you could go in the old matchmaking thing, and you could like look at not matchmaking, match history, and there was like a Riot ID there always. And now I think they can still do it with some mumbo jumbo. But I mean, when you're level 30 with 0 normal games, and you have like maybe 10 ranked games and you're in Masters, it's kind of easy to get sniped.
Yeah, people are gonna figure it out pretty quick. Regardless, I forgot to mention this: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, SoundCloud, as always, is where we're available. It's weird to continuously say that every podcast episode, because if you're hearing that, you have to be listening to us on one of those platforms.
That's true.
But in the event that you're seeing our face and you don't want to see them, or vice versa, you can swap from YouTube to something else, or from something else to YouTube, I guess is the value proposition there. So I think the most interesting is, Odo, like, you're in your off season now, and we're going to talk about Montpelier shortly, but to just shoot the shit, because I think this is my this is the part of the podcast that I know some people look forward to, and I always enjoy this. Like, so you're still a League Andy in the off season. I know a lot of players who are just like, no, they just stop playing League completely and will go play, I don't know, Starfield or Baldur's Gate or whatever for like 3 months and then come back 2 months before the season starts.
Yeah. I mean, I will play some other stuff, but see, the problem is that I'm just a workaholic. So if I don't grind League at least 3 or 4 hours or 5 hours every day, I'm gonna feel mega guilty, even though it's off season, because I feel like I'm just mega slacking if I don't do it. So I don't know. I have plenty to do league wise, because I mean I can practice some champs, get some new champions ready and set up for new season. Yeah, so wink wink. I mean, come on, man! How funny it would be. You guys are just gonna vibe there, casting the game and everything, and you guys are like, oh look, it's the grandpa, 29 years old, recently added Yasuo to his champion pool, dashing around, doing some spinny.
If it works, I would love to get all of the historic interview clips of like between like Prawley and every other coach you ever had, basically being like, yeah, he plays Maokai, like blah, 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 and like run all those together with like dramatic, sad music and talk about like the rise of Odoamne before clips of your Yasuo. Because I feel like you started your career getting to do fun shit, and then you've just kind of been, for like, you've had some metas where you've gotten to play fun shit again when like Rumbles come back or Cannons come back, etc. But then mostly you've just been always back to tank duty, always the dog champs.
I feel like that's the life of top lane. I feel like it's funny because if you look at every rookie that comes into LEC, I mean, it might be a little bit bad taste, but let's look at the Shigenda example. Because when I got replaced, they went into some interviews. I think the guys over at Koi or Rogue or whatever it was, and they're like, "Oh yeah, the Shigenda, he's here. He's gonna be the carry we always needed, And then 1 month and a half, there's an interview saying, "Yeah, these carries are not working, so we're gonna try with tanks, and then we're gonna try to build up again on the carry playstyle." I'm like, I feel like it's always that. It's not like a Rogue or a Koi thing. I feel like it's just the general vibe around top lane where everyone as a rookie or everyone as a new guy comes in, tries to pop off, do these like crazy things with carries and stuff. But then the moment there's like some unwanted volatility in the game, they're like, "Hey, what do you think of Ornn here? We can engage, pull some triggers and stuff. And it's cool." Or like they're gonna go to a Drake situation, and then your mega fed Camille is gonna die to the deadpool because you can't find the flank because they have 5 people on the pixel and they just like right click you when you jump in, and they're like, even though you are really fed, it just seemed like you couldn't find the angle to find a good team fight here. Wouldn't it just be easier if you just hang out with us here and you just frontline, tank some CC? Oh look, your ADC is very, very good and he has 3 items. He's gonna dish out some damage. You just need to keep him alive. And the thing is, when they say all of that, you're like, the biggest bait you can do is like, is just say, yeah, we can try. Because the thing is, once you say we can try, it's over. You open like Pandora's box and you just get sucked into this like vicious cycle of just playing tanks and weak side and all of this, and your identity gets lost forever. You were the Yasuo guy, but then all of a sudden you became the Ornn guy.
To be fair to Shigenda, he was like stuck in the middle zone. Like he has one Ornn game that he lost all year, one Malphite game that he lost all year, but then he's got like a ton of Cassante that he's losing on, which is his tank duty. So then instead of becoming a carry player, he just became a Gnar. Yeah. And when you become the Gnar, you're a bit of both. I think you've become the Gnar a few times, haven't you?
Yeah, I have. But the thing is, this is not to like throw shade, because like I think in my first year when I was like when I joined the ULCS, it was back in the day. I was only playing like Irelia, Jackson, like mega carries and all of this stuff, and then
old
with
Irelia.
time, old Irelia was like the 75 true damage was mega bonkers. But I was playing all of this stuff, and then I don't know. I feel like with time, your responsibilities just kind of change, because I feel like there's just so much volatility in the game that they just say to you that, oh, you need some consistency or something less volatile a little bit. So you need to play something that it's just not as explosive. So that's where your identity kind of changes. Because I was the Irelia player, I was the Jax player, and all of this crazy champs.
I think that like the way League of Legends has progressed as a game, right? Like it felt like to me a lot in those eras, kind of up until like 2015, 2016. It was a lot more about individual performance and individual matchup, and I feel like people are just way better now. You know what I mean? So like if you want to play a champion who's a lot more about like what they can get done in the individual matchup, Jax is whatever. Or something even like Jax isn't even that much of a psycho pick, right? But like Aurelia, Yasuo, whatever. Like you have to Wampa Stomp in a way that is not only good in the isolated context of your lane, like it used to be in like season 2, season 3, but like junglers do things now. Like it's not, we're not just impressed. Like Diamond Prox walked into the enemy jungle and everyone lost their fucking mind. Like, how is he allowed to do this?
He's crossed
like that was innovation.
River.
Like, what did he do? What, you're allowed to do that? Like people will just camp you. Like people will go top and play around that lane. People will split the map. Like the game is so much more figured out, but so much more complicated now. And some of that is just like patch changes too, right? But at the same time, it's just hard.
You're right. Because I think there's a lot of theory. Because I remember on when we made like world semis in H2K, I feel like the way I would approach my matchups is completely different than now. Because I would look at those matchups as like, completely 1v1. Oh, I have winning matchup. I'm gonna push. Yeah. There's just so much less theory. I wouldn't think, okay, do I want to crash 3, bounce on 4? Sync with my jungler so he ganks on wave 5. He's there. I can force a freeze wave 6. I mean, it is the LS meme, but that's kind of how League works now. Because I'm like, now if I have to prep a matchup, if my coach asks me, hey, what do you need to play Jax into Renekton? I will say to him, just get ready for Psycho game. Every time I call my jungle, he needs to drop everything to come. Every time his jungler is on top side of the map, we need to do something, because if I miss 1-3 timer or anything, then my matchup is completely screwed. We need to invade every camp, or like do the thing where they do 3 waves, proxy 4, invade all the camps on top side and all of this stuff. And back in like season 5, I was just like, hey, is your matchup winning? And I'll be like, yeah. Oh, great.
Who gets cryo? Me. Okay, good.
Yeah, who gets cryo? The greatest question.
Yeah, go in your matchup, top laner. And I think it was just a lot easier, and that's why it was easier to play those matchups, because right now League is just so theorized that there's as you said, there's a jungler. The jungler will do some things.
Yeah.
Before I would just put a ward and nothing would happen.
Yeah, I remember, like, this is way back, but if you ever go back and watch old League of Legends videos, this is my favorite thing in the world. Like, people will get pushed in a lane, and they'll just sit there and, like, wait with the wave push under tower to get a single auto. Like, they will not use their priority to place vision. They will do nothing with their prio. They will play exclusively for their own lane for one auto, and it's like, my dream, the only way I could ever be a professional player would be with the time machine to go back and explain priority to someone playing in like season 2, season 3. And it probably wouldn't work the way I think it would work, but I would be like, you could be a genius. If you just go back and you're like, hey, once you push the lane, you can leave and put a ward down, like.
And then.
I remember the meta where it was like, I think season 4, where you would buy like 13 potions and 1 ward, or 9 potions and 2 wards.
Yeah, support items weren't a thing. You like maybe bought a fairy charm.
So guess what I was doing with my 13 potions and a ward? Do you think I would just do something with that ward? No, I would just put it in the brush next to me. I would use 13 potions and just push and fight. That's the most I was doing.
That's some real League of Legends. None of that CS Doran Shield, second wind, hide on the tower bullshit. 10 potions each, fight to the death. No one's allowed to leave.
Flat AD Quince, and I was here to win lane. You know what I mean? I had 2 roost cages, one with armor, one with MR. I had my GP with 4% crit or whatever you could get.
Yeah, well, there's a League of Legends Worlds every year, the VOD stream from every year up until they run up to Worlds. I was watching like season 3 a couple of weeks ago. That was a baller. Season 5 was yesterday. Now we're on season 6. So, bro. You're eating dinner, you're bored, you don't know what to do, boom. Old League of Legends World Championship live stream.
Pop it on.
Player was so bad back then. Like I feel like now, if you take any player from season 13, is gonna clap any player from season 5.
Probably, yeah. Because just like
so you're saying I'd have a chance.
So like season 5,
be
Faker
great, Mark.
in
Again,
World
Time
Finals.
Machine, you let me know. We go back together. We look really good.
I mean, season 5 Faker World Finals versus like Pedro Malzahar 2023. I'm giving it to Pedro.
Pedro Malzahar? Yeah, bro. I'm giving it to me too. Holy moly. So when a time machine is made, I will win worlds.
Disrespectful comparison, though. It's so disingenuous.
So you're saying I'm better than a past.
Yeah, I mean, it's how the game progresses. Like the sheer quantity of things that you have to know to be a viable mid laner in professional play these days is astronomical. And it only gets more complicated as people figure out more and more things about the game. And eventually, if the game never gets patched, it would probably be quote unquote solved. But like, there's always something new to be discovered, which is cool.
I was looking at my games a couple of like months back. I was looking at the game from like season 5. I think it was like one of my first games in LEC, and I'm like, holy shit! How is this guy a pro? He's so bad. And, back then I was thinking I was the shit, I was like coming into the league balling. I was like, yeah, rookie. I was maybe like top 2 or top 3 in my role. And I was like, holy shit, I'm so good. And now I look at those votes and I'm like, holy, this guy's a bot. Wait, can I drop F-bombs?
Well, it's up to Matt, our wonderful producer for the day. We'll maybe have to censor them out, or Liz if she's gonna edit this. We got a lovely crew who are gonna, dip the audio on that maybe a little bit. We'll see. I think get one or two. Limit them, I would say, generally. Yeah. The other big news, and Mark, I'd love to get your take on this before we start to talk about Montpellier, is Asia Games. A little bit more information came out today.
When is that?
So it's
September 25th, 6th, 7th, 8th, somewhere there.
So like 3 weeks from now.
Yeah. So part of the reason Worlds is later this year, obviously, is to allow for Asia Games, which is a huge opportunity for any of the countries and players eligible to play. That said, the rules came out and they're kind of wacky. They're playing on patch 13.12. It's like 13.12. Best of 5 finals. That was not. I think 13.11 was peak Static Shiv degeneracy. Holy so this shit. Is still slightly peak Static Shiv.
Wait, what?
13.12 was. That's the
regular season.
That was
Zeri
between
nerf.
Regular season and our groups patch. So our regular season was 13.11, and then it was 12, and then I think that's Ivern. I think that's the really messed up Ivern patch.
Maybe I think that's the Wukong Vi meta jungle. Like it didn't get nerfed yet. With Zeri Yumi just got nerfed, Lucian got nerfed, and then Kai'Sa just got buffed, and Shiv
what
is still
was
strong.
LPL playoffs patch then?
LPL playoffs was 13-15, I think.
So
isn't it 14?
They are going mega back in time.
We're the only ones on 15, as far as I know.
Oh, maybe the regionals from
some of the smaller regions.
Anyway, 13-12 is there even a TR with 13-12 on it? Like how?
I don't know. Someone on their committee probably has to go to Riot and say, "Can you set us up a server with 13.12?" Which I assume will be responded to with what? But
no, they would just get a calendar and be like, "Buddy, it's September, not June." Like what?
It's just so random. I think that the funniest thing about this, the saddest thing about this to me is this is obviously don't know what goes into planning the Asia Games, so I don't want to totally rag on the committee behind it. But it's just one of those things where it's just if you don't know a lot about League of Legends, maybe get some expert input. Because when you say we're going to play on 13.12, and for the players that are playing, again, it's their mixed teams from some of the best players in the region, mostly looking at China and Korea here, LPL and LCK. The other regions, there are other regions playing, but obviously the big ones that we're going to look at as Western fans are those two. It's mixed teams, but those players are going to have such weird whiplash coming out of Asia Games and then straight into Worlds patch.
13.12 is the most OP Shiv patch. It's complete.
Yeah, I knew it was one of the. I think 13 got nerfed a tiny bit. That's when we were playing it for groups.
Yeah,
when
13
were starting to play LeBlanc.
Bro, 13.13 is when they removed the 125% AP scaling on the minion damage.
13.12.
On 13.12, it has a plus 125% AP damage to minions.
It's gonna be 3 static shivs on every team. Yeah,
everything.
Oh my god! Wait, what they even win? What do you even win if you win Asia Games? Because I know for Korea
It's Static Shift games, buddy, not Asia games.
Yeah. Because Korea it's OP because you can skip military service if you win. But if you're
the military
China,
service
what do
thing
you
is
win?
I just honor. What do you win when you win the Olympics, right? It's
That's true. I mean, in my country, if you win the Olympics, you get like, a subsidy from the state for the rest of your life,
I mean, that I don't know but I believe that it's not like the Asia Games don't give you, as far as I know, anything other than the medal and the prestige and the honor. It's up to the individual country how they want to reward their respective athletes. So, yeah, I have no idea. It's interesting, though. I mean, it's like cool, obviously, to represent, rather than just representing T1 and the LCK, like you're a representative of South Korea. Like that's got to feel super cool for the players.
That's really
but
cool.
This to me is like, that's a roughie, like, oh God, the different patch, like everything else. But
we do
but
need
it's going to be hype though. Like Asia Games, it's like Kanavi and Ruler coming out of JDG playing on Team Korea. Like how hype is that?
That's cool.
Faker and Chovy, like it's going to be sick.
I think it's going to be a banger. It will be hilarious to watch every possible champion that could abuse Static Shift get picked at some point. Because we kind of only hit the iceberg domestically. It was like Kaisa LeBlanc mostly, because mostly like people were pretty much just banning those champions, and we never had to reckon that much with Static Shift because we played on 13-13. We had like 2 weeks of Static Shift being the worst thing ever. But how deep can you go when Static Shift is permanently OP for an entire
brand with Static Shift?
Yeah, brand. It's just every 80 carry has to build Static Shift, right?
Yeah, it's going to be degenerate.
Asia Games exciting.
Imagine Ziggs wave clear with Static Shift. You can't siege. Like, you just can't do it. And if you you can't
Powered
play.
auto with Static Shift, bro, that's some damage. You're cooking.
The game will never end.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And then maybe it is good they have a best of 3 final instead of a best of 5 final.
Only best of 3? Oh my God.
Best of 3. Yeah, again, like a little bit, just kind of weird decisions. But
yeah, what is going on there? Like, what the hell? 6 patches, 7 patches out of date?
I mean, to me, it just reads like people who have maybe who have not organized League of Legends tournaments, or who have to make concessions on the League of Legends tournament because of the schedule or whatever. It doesn't read to me like we've developed the most optimal format and it's best of 3 finals.
For me, it really looks like they're like, what was it? They decided in June, hey, are we locking in this date as Asia Games? Yeah. What patch is it today? 13-12? Okay, lock it in. And they just sent it.
Commit. You want a stable version of League of Legends, and 13-12.
That is it.
They've had a lot of those bugs will have been solved, presumably. So there you go. The most stable version of League of Legends, maybe. I don't know, man. Regardless, that's Asia Games this weekend, boys. Montpelier, Montpelier, Occitanie. If you speak French, I'm sorry if you're personally offended by that. We've just had a million people correct our pronunciation, so I'm just inclined to pronounce it worse every time.
Montpellier.
Yep. Good job, Mark. Monty P, I'm going to call it. Anyway, Monty P this weekend. Of course, first there's the EMEA Masters Finals. I haven't watched a lot of EMEA Masters Finals or EMEA Masters this year, but I do know K-Corp is there, which is pretty hype. But otherwise, we have 3 teams. Fnatic and Mad are going to be playing each other in the semifinal on Saturday. Winner then plays G2. How I'd love to do this today. There are a lot of people out there who are just coming in for end of season, I think, just to see this big spectacle. So I'd love to help give them an understanding of kind of each of our teams and what people can expect, as you guys are both, you're my experts here. So I would love to start with Fnatic. What do you guys think about this Fnatic lineup? Obviously, the second best of 5 that has gone all the way to 5 games. The first one being the one that tragically eliminated Odoamne's chance to not be on this podcast.
Yeah, that sucks, man. I wish I could have dodged the podcast, but here I am.
Here you are, trapped here with us, rightfully so. It's been a double 5-game series. Wonder subbed in this weekend. It's just been a really weird journey for Fnatic. Mark, with you first, how are you feeling about Fnatic? What do you overall think about this team? What do you think is important?
They're playing with Wunder for Montpellier, right?
Yeah,
yes.
I think so.
Yeah.
As far as I understand, it's up to the team. They have both, right? He's an emergency substitute, and I assume that if Oscar is feeling well, but short of Wunder also getting injured, I don't see any reason why Oscar would play.
Yeah, it's hard because Wunder played 4 Renekton games in a row. So like, I don't know if he did that on purpose because of their series against BDS, and that was like the best pick you can play into Adam on a blind pick because he was blinding a lot, or he just wasn't like suited to meta champs yet, and he just wanted to play like super comfort, and Renekton's pretty easy, I think. But yeah, I think Wunder's slotted in pretty seamlessly. I think probably if you took every single role of Fnatic and told me I have to sub out one player for any player that's available, I think I would always choose Top and Wunder because he's played there before. The way Fnatic worked before was they just didn't have any sides to play through. But now I don't even feel like they play through bot that much. I think two things impressed me the most. Number one, Trimby's Nautilus is really good. This guy was just full sending Nautilus on blind picks on blue side, like with no fear of getting counterpicked by things like Braum or anything like that. And he was playing super hard engage. The draft they were playing in the last game where they were playing like Syndra Renekton into Azir Ezreal, I was really worried for them. I thought that if they lost one fight, the game would be over. But yeah, even playing Nautilus into Braum, he had like really good engages. So Trimby on engage support's good. It's getting better. Was scared on the patch change for them. But to me, I think the standout so far has always been Razork and Humanoid. It's interesting how like their dynamic at the start of the year was they're the problem in everyone's eyes, and now they're the solution to everything. The AP junglers for me are kind of like I like the idea of AP junglers with Talia Karthus, especially if Wunder's going to play Renekton a lot, and Humanoid's like playing a lot of Jace too. So I think they've got a lot of styles underneath their belt, which is good. He also plays for Sana. So what would I say about Fnatic overall? I think they've got a very safe top laner who can basically play anything, I guess, after another week of scrims. I think their jungler is really good in early game. Like Razork's plan making in early stages seems really good. Their support seems very flexible in this meta. And Humanoid just looks like one of our best mids again. I think he, in season finals, is just... his lane phase is really strong. He's really reliable, especially in that XL series in the last 2 games on Tristana. Kind of like was a hidden carry. But Noah's been a bit invisible for me in this season finals. It's not like the Noah of old where, you know, he picks his Aphelios and his Xayah and he just pops off. I feel like now he's been a bit more tame. You know, I mean, he had like 100 and something KDA in the first couple weeks of LEC, and everyone was talking about Noah. But if I had to put any point of criticism in Fnatic, I would say that Noah doesn't look as dominant as he was. And maybe that's because of the meta change in support, or maybe it's because Trimby's leaving lane a lot more, which he definitely is. But he seems more like he's giving up a bit more than he was getting.
Had a good Ezreal game.
He did have the really solid Ezreal game. Odo, as someone who played with Trimby, I'd love to get your thoughts on the like Trimby range versus melee support discussion that people get into a lot. Like, I think people range anywhere from he has a preference for range supports, you know, to he just can't play melee supports depending on how strongly they feel about this point. Like, you obviously play with this guy for a long time and experienced with him. How would you describe like his champion pool and his strengths as a player? Do you think this is actually a weakness for him playing these more melee engage focused supports, or is it just like a preference for range that he has?
I would say yes. I mean, it's a bit weird because I think him as a player, he just really like the times he plays best is when he feels like empowered and he has the liberty to pick what he wants. Because I mean, there were times in Rogue when we were playing together that, you know, Nautilus was like he's a really good Nautilus, you know, and Nautilus was like a great meta champ. But if he wasn't feeling it and he wanted to play something else, if you like force him to play Nautilus, he wouldn't like it so much, you know. Because I know he's really a player that's kind of like streaky and in the zone, and when he gets to get the ball rolling and play his confidence chance and play the chance that he wants, he's popping off really hard. But for me, yeah, I mean, he always struck me as Enchanter a little bit more than melee. Nautilus was always there as, you know, as the safe, reliable choice where you need like a beefy boy or someone that can start the fight. Nautilus is always there, so he always liked playing it, or like for most of the time. But yeah, no, he's just really, really creative. And if he gets to pick what he wants, he will pop off. But if he gets forced to play something he doesn't really want to play, he might terrorize it a little bit. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It seems like he has a lot of confidence right now. He's pairing very, very well with Razork. That's something that he was trying to do in Rogue a lot. And when it worked, when he was pairing with Marang, he was doing really, really well. But a lot of time we wouldn't really do it because I feel like our focus or our identity in Rogue was a little bit different. Everyone was kind of like a lane focused player, and he was kind of forced to sit in lane and do a lot. But right now, I feel like he's kind of unleashed to just run around the map, especially when they're doing this thing where they're kind of stabilizing bot lane. Noah has a pick that he can just play 1v1 or 1v2, and then he gets involved himself a lot more with Razork around mid lane or even top lane. I think that's kind of where he shines the most.
Yeah, it's interesting because when Fnatic were successful at the start of the season, as you mentioned, Mark, like a lot of it was bot lane, a lot of it was Noah, and a lot of it was Razork just endlessly going bot lane. And now it feels like a lot more like leave Noah on the island and free Trimby up to roam. That doesn't mean he's not getting pushed. There were games where he's just solo playing Aphelios and getting pushed, and Trimby's just got good timings, right? But like, it's crazy to see the shift because I think the only thing that this Fnatic lineup really did for a lot of early summer, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, is just like Noah show every single game, partially because Noah was performing well, but also they just funneled resources into this guy like nobody's business. And even in your series against them in summer, like the one game where they actually like smashed you guys, Odo, was like Razork Poppy gank bot 5 times in a row and the game is completely unplayable.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like it's weird to me to see that shift, but I think it's also cool, Mark, because to talk about what you were saying, like I think this the Tristana Jace that has remained popular has let Humanoid look like an absolute turbo smurf in so many of these freaking games.
I think something they did in early summer, actually, if you watch their games now, I think about it, is they would actually just lane swap their bot lane out of lane like at like 7 or 8 minutes really early. And as much as it's like obvious to contest Herald, I feel like nowadays it's less common to just full lane swap your bot lane and just put them top. I'm not sure what the reason is, but I just see it less and less and more. I see like 4v4 stand downs and like whichever AD carry wants to move to secure it, the other one just stays. But yeah, I remember seeing Noah Aphelios a lot of the time. I don't know if it was like because he played Aphelios and he got certain guns and then he wanted lane swap out of lane to like gank the enemy top laner through lane and then get Herald or something. Or if he had more like agency with those champs. But yeah, they definitely involve Noah in less plays overall, I would say. But it's like there's a push and a pull in League, right? There's a give and a take. And I feel like you've taken away more from Noah, but you've given so much more to like Razork and Humanoid with Trimby just picking Nautilus and like standing in bushes and finding enemy jungler in bot jungle. And just like, I mean, when he plays Telia, he was getting first blood and Stutch in that BDS series by Trimby just waiting in the river for him and just getting picks. But yeah, I feel like a lot of our teams have similar styles. They just have uniqueness, you know, like BDS's uniqueness is their top laner. G2's uniqueness is their innovation, I guess, like the amount of stuff that they come up with. Mad Lion's uniqueness is for some reason they lose early games, but their team fighting just seems to be a way for them to come back into the game. And Fnatic,
some of those uniqueness points didn't feel quite as good as the other. One of those uniqueness points sounded kind of like not a unique good thing.
Well, we'll get onto Mad Lions soon, but if you watch the early games, it's always confusing how they're like still competing. You know, they're like 1k down on average at 15. Like they never get a first tower. They never do anything in the early game. But then their team fighting is for some reason just really good. What was I saying? Uniqueness. Oh yeah, for Fnatic.
Uniqueness. Yeah.
I don't know what the uniqueness of Fnatic. I guess like the styles they bring. I guess they were scrimming a lot of G2, and that's why they were playing like Karthus and Telia. I mean, I know Talia's OP, but we haven't seen it much. But maybe
I think that's their own personal thing. Because the thing is, when we were having our bubble, like a week ago, when we were streaming both G2 and Fnatic, G2 was not like doing this. This is just Karthus. Like, yeah, it's just the Fnatic thing where he was playing Kindred. He's the only one who played Kindred this split, and then it was just like, okay, let's try to branch out a little bit because you had own Kindred. Sure, now you need to kind of figure out some more because Talia was always like a champ where everyone's like, is it better jungle? Is it better mid? And Razor is like, I'll just play a jungle as well, just to get the flex going. Because especially on red side, if you get Talia 1-2, you're getting terrorized in that draft a little bit because you're never going to see where the Talia goes until 5 pick. So I think Fnatic's uniqueness is just kind of Razork champion pool a little bit, because the Karthus is coming out, Kindred's coming out, Thalia's coming out, and just how they distribute resources. Because I also feel like why Noah's getting hung out dry a little bit is also when your mid lane is Jace or Tristana, it needs a lot of attention because it's probably the biggest win condition of the game, those two champs. And you kind of need to ensure that it doesn't fall behind and that later on in mid game, it gets this time it needs on side lane to ramp up and catch waves and collect some tier 1 or tier 2 gold to be good in the game. So when you do that, your ADC is kind of just receiving and just vibing.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think Fnatic are so good and Humanoid is so good at just hoovering up every little bit of farm in the mid game. When I compare that to like G2 playing Tristana, for example, although my most recent memory is Caps just absolutely kind of griefing it in their game 2, so maybe not the best memory. But it like their resource distribution is much more even across the board, whereas it feels like Fnatic are very deliberately like putting everything mid game at least into the Humanoid basket in terms of just getting this man as much money as humanly possible.
Yeah, I mean, you can still see their tendencies to play bot, like in the Jinx game, where was it against? Yeah, it was against you guys, right? The Jinx game where they got like three or four kills early in bot, And I think when they play those hyper carries, they're still like leaning to bot side. But I feel like when you're playing like Kai'Sa and Ezreal and Xayah, you can kind of find your own way into the games.
It was funny because that's one of the games where I think Jinx was 3-0. But then it seemed like they're not really doing much with their pressure because they got the lead on Jinx and they're like, yeah, but our comp is still kind of like playing around mid lane so much with those champs in that series that, I don't know, I feel like if you took Fnatic from maybe regular season, if you give Noah 3 kills on Jinx, my whole map is getting pulverized, that guy is going to be like a wrecking ball and just going to take out all my towers. But in that game, he was 3-0, but it felt like he was 0-0. And we were just kind of vibing, and then we just randomly made a comeback. And that's maybe because of how they changed their identity a little bit, how they shifted away from bot lane. But it could be something that is not so great, because I feel like when you have 3-0 Jinx, they should have run away with that game quite easily.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, just because I think that it's not something we often get a chance to look at, but like maybe how rigid Fnatic actually are in their approach to the game, because we look at it as like this smooth transition from one style to another, which it is. But like if you can't go back and do the things that you were doing at the start of the summer, when you have the tools available to do it, not like they immediately need to start playing around bot every game, but like when there is a game where it can't set them up, that is something that like could be problematic, especially as they go up against better and better opponents as we get deeper into this tournament, right? Like if Humanoid can't build an advantage, if the pressure against Caps in the mid lane, let's say for example, if they beat Mad, isn't enough for them to build an advantage there, but they can get something done bot, which admittedly hard against Hansama Mickey X, not being able to transition that will cost them greatly, like it did versus you guys when you were able to mount a comeback. And certainly against Mad, who, as you already highlighted, Mark, great team fighting team, and against G2, who are pretty consistently able to find ways back into games, unless like their game 2 versus Mad, they've like completely thrown it away.
Yeah, the last thing I'll say about Fnatic is, mid-jungle meta is so good for them. Like Razork's playing every game, he's playing AP jungler every game, even if it's a carry or a tank. It's like Maokai, Sejuani, Ivern, Karthus, Talia, like every champ is AP. And Humanoid being able to play Jace, Tristana just makes that a lot easier. Feel like he can have more agency in like terms of how much push he has in the lane when he plays those two champions plus Azir. So it feels like they will always get pretty good mid push. It's not like, I feel like a couple of weeks ago, the mid meta was very Nico, Annie, Azir, LeBlanc-ish, where you're kind of like a mage engager. But now I feel like in EU, at least with these AP junglers being available for mid game skirmishes, it's better to play Tristana Jace because you have more push, more ways to get yourself involved. That's why I didn't like the Kai'Sa too much. I just felt like the Kai'Sa for Humanoid was more like I'm going to be a passenger's game, guys. I'll be useful later on. And then the game just starts to fall apart.
Yeah. It does feel limited because the only two 80 champions we've seen be really good thus far are Jace, Tristana, right? And like very frequently the Tristana's taken off the board, which means you kind of know exactly what Fnatic are going to take, right? Razork is obviously the wild card there because he's already shown us 2 AP champions, and who knows if there are any else.
I do feel like Fnatic is kind of easy to. I don't want to say easy to read, but if I'm drafting against Fnatic this weekend, I feel like you know exactly what they're going to pick half the time. Like they're 100% early rotating.
If you give them 80 jungle, they're going to take 80 jungle, and they'll take one of their AP babies, which I mean is true of any team, but like they will always, I think, take 80 mid. Right?
Yeah, covering off Jace Tristana feels necessary, and then when that's down, thinking about Azir and like Nautilus is going to be slammed, Renekton or Ornn is going to be early slammed, and then like whatever the S tier AP junglers are up from like Talia down to like Maokai and stuff like that, you know they're going to slam that too. They'll pick Xayah, Philios if it's open. If they drop, they'll probably play something safe like Ezreal. Like I don't know. I feel like Fnatic's probably the easiest team to read in draft.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I feel like top lane it's gonna be limiting in a way because I'm like, you didn't play for like 6 months, 7 months. You're gonna come in and you're probably only gonna be playing Renekton or Ornn, I think, because realistically, how much can you cook a brand new pick, and also how much patience does the whole team have to cook a new pick on top lane? Because I feel like we can pivot a bit to the earlier discussion where it's like, the team is there and they're like, okay, how about you just play a little Ornn here, a little Renekton, and you just vibe. So I feel like it is the recipe for them. It's like you're probably gonna get a prio mid 1-2. You're gonna pick your jungler, pick Ornn or Renekton, and then just standard team comp. Maybe you wanna take Trimby off of Nautilus and see what else he cooks. Because I mean, on engaged supports is like outside of Nautilus, and what else is there? There was another one.
Rakan?
Yeah, Alistar, Rakan.
Rel, which will be contested.
I mean, Rel is. I mean, I don't know how Trimby Rel is. I actually they won, I think, with Rel a couple of times against us. But yeah, I feel like he had a lot of Nautilus games. I'm curious what happens if you take him off. But yeah, it does seem like they're quite limited, or not limited, but like really easy to predict, because I feel like you can cook something quite easy given what you've seen in the last 10 games from them.
Yeah. So based on our discussion, it really feels to me like if you're watching Fnatic or playing against Fnatic, you're really just looking at jungle mid mostly, support a little bit, and then kind of just we're assuming that Wonder's going to fill in the gaps and Noah's going to fill in the gaps. They're going to take whatever's available. Right? Is that a fair read?
No, I would say.
Like, I mean, you look at it, they played like Nautilus at almost every game. They played Renekton almost every game. They played Jace Tristana every game it's up, and Xayah Philios is his bread and butter, right? Unless they want to do some Kai'Sa flex or something. But yeah, I think easiest to read is probably Fnatic in terms of what they'll do. And it's not like it's a bad thing. I just think they're just playing really heavy meta style, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just...
And also when you sub in a new player, again, like Odo said, it's like if you're cooking at all, you know what I mean? It's probably within the style you already have. Are you really going to try to build like a whole new play style where you have a top laner that's a substitute that didn't practice at all with you in early summer, where maybe you were doing something different? And again, Wonder's got a pedigree, but there's difference between conceptually knowing something and having almost that muscle memory to consistently execute it in game well. Yeah. So Fnatic predictable, but I mean, I still think they're solid. Like they are good at what they do, right? And they are still a force to be reckoned with. And I think the struggle of this weekend, right, is that our most recent evidence for Fnatic is them winning, admittedly in a pretty close series. And we look up at Mad, and our most recent example of Mad is them getting pretty much just beaten across the board. Game 2, obviously, I would attribute as a lot of mistakes from G2, although many could say the same thing from Mad in Game 1. And there were closer games in the series, but overall, we've just watched Mad lose and we've just watched Fnatic win. So I guess that I'm hoping that you guys can help me like reset expectations for Mad from a fan perspective, because since they're coming in off a loss, I feel like they might be a bit underestimated. How good is Mad right now when they're playing well? Do we need to be worried about Chasey top lane because he just came off of getting pretty much entirely blasted by Broken Blade for an entire series? He's playing against Wonder. It's very different. Like, what's the read on Mad Lions?
Bro.
Yeah, I know. This is the worst question ever because it's Mad
like
Lions.
It's like the let's reset Mad Lions expectations talk number 10 of the year. It's like, oh, they beat this good team and then they got absolutely destroyed. What can we expect? And that happened like 10 times this year. So it's like, well, they beat XL and like they outperformed XL, and then you go to G2 and it's like, well, they won a game where G2 was completely running the whole game down. Like it was the most disgusting thing I've ever seen.
It's really nice to talk about Fnatic because they consistently do a thing You know, you can set expectations for the audience, for yourself. Hey, if they get these things, they're going to do well. What the hell do Mad need? What is it in draft or in game? Because you said it, they lose every early game. What the hell is going on with this team?
Let me run you through some things. Summer split starts. They win 4 games. Okay, they go on an 8-9 game losing streak. They're in the season finals. They 3-0 XL, second place. Then they go on to the winners finals. They get 3-1 by G2 in one game. G2 was trolling. So the only positive they've done in the last few weeks is they 3-0 XL. And they locked Worlds.
And even then, I feel like it's a little bit of an asterisk on its head. Because, I mean, I feel like we kind of fell off a cliff when it came to summer, to season finals. I feel like we were a lot worse than we were in like the regular summer split thingy. Like even in our series against Matt, the first 2 games, they were getting like dumpster really hard. Those early games, the way they were losing early games was way too much, I feel like, for, you know, normal good quality League of Legends games. I feel like if you get this far behind, you don't get to win those games. And game 3, they kind of abused me a little bit. So they won early game and they did really well. But I don't know, I feel like they're still there, even though they 3-0'd us with their recent form, the way their early games look, their early games still look kind of bad. Like, I still haven't seen them get the good early games in. On the Chasey question, I feel like his summer or season finals, or like ever since summer split started, his form has been quite poor. Because even against us, outside of game 3, I think he was not having as big impact as he used to have in like the previous splits, where I think he even won All-Pro in spring, I think. So he was in really, really good form then. And I feel like ever since summer came, his form has been quite lacking. So I don't know, man. But the thing is, every once in a while on a blue moon, Mad Lions comes back and they're like the best team in the world. So maybe it happens this weekend, even though I don't see it happening. I don't know what to expect. I still feel like, given how much they're losing early games, I actually see Fnatic winning the series, even though Wonder has been only playing with the team for like a week and a half or so. So I'm like, I don't know, man. Mad Lions is an enigma that will never, ever be solved, ever.
Yeah, I agree. It's like, even in your XL series, they were getting bodied in 2 early games. Second game, they should have lost, just like clutch play by the Sivir. The G2 series, I mean, they got destroyed game 1. G2 trolled game 2, and then game 3 and game 4 were like kind of close until they weren't. Like the whole like Zillion Azir stuff was really cool, but yeah, I don't know. It got to the point where, I mean, the Swain pick was doing a lot of work. It looked like the Swain pick was actually really intelligent. I think Broken Blade's name is something to do with Swain on the solo queue ladder. It's like G2 something bird or something, and he's got like most 3-eyed Swain. There you go. I don't know. I like this whole Mad thing whole year long. It's just been an absolute head blast.
I need a montage of every time we've tried to talk about Mad this year.
Yeah.
It literally always starts with somebody groaning. And I agree. And you know what's annoying is, like, when I that 1 week I did interviews for LEC, I talked to Mad and I was like, what's up? He's like, oh, you know, the team is great when Elyoya and Hylissang work together. And it's like, how do you make that happen? And he was like, we kind of like look for a team to emulate to get them both on the same page. And my as an interviewer is that I should have asked, okay, what team are you emulating now? And maybe we'll get a chance to ask that this week if that's still their strategy. But it just, I feel like even Mac and like the Mad Lions staff are just trying to like engineer a way to desperately trying to find the formula to get these boys to be consistent. And it's just like not happening. Because it's crazy. Because like I would love to talk about the great games that Carzy had, which is kind of what we were talking about coming into the G2 series. Because while their early games were rough, he was doing a lot of work late game. Like the Sivir was looking pretty clean, but then even then it didn't really manifest in the G2 series. And it's like I'd love to talk about Elyoya as a player that we've historically talking about, but he's had a pretty shit year, or at least a shit summer. Let's say a shit year is probably not fair to him. So
it's been struggling.
Peak Mad Lions. Let's pretend Mad Lions come into full form then. Just a thought exercise. What if Mad Lions are performing? And again, I know this is hard and this sucks, but I just want to talk about, let's assume we get the best version of Mad Lions. What is this team actual weaknesses? What do we actually look out for? It's a lot of Elyoya Hylissang, right? Elyoya Hylissang Niski more than anything.
Yeah. I feel like also like when I think back to classic Mad Lions, especially like MSI when they're playing T1, I'm like, oh my god, maybe they're gonna win games. When they play like setup mid, Niski, I feel like it's just a really good setup mid player. And I know he can play mage and stuff like that and carries, but like when he's playing Lissandra, TF and stuff like this, Talia or whatever, Elyoya just looks like he can do whatever the hell he wants. And then Elyoya can play a carry like Lee Sin and stuff, and then magic happens in mid and then it gets transitioned to sides, you know? But magic can't happen that much in mid anymore because you're just playing like an AP jungler, and Yoya has to play either he's on Ivern duty, he's on Maokai duty, or he's on gank everyone Poppy Jarvan duty, and that's it. I mean, there's not much they can really do in games when Elyoya feels like he's playing a tanker. He's playing like Ivern, he's playing like Jarvan, he's playing like Maokai, he's playing like Poppy. So it's either a case of one, find a different style so Elyoya can play carries and they have more setup mids, which is not very meta, which kind of sucks, but they can try and pull it off. Or two, Niski plays more AD mids. But I feel like they have to find a new style because this mid jungle, Yoya's summer has been awful. It's like, not that he's playing bad or anything, but the level that he was at versus the level that he's at now just doesn't feel like it's doing Mad Lions any favors in that sense, because I don't know, the meta just sucks for him. There's nothing he can do on the whole map, the whole game, and he's just getting perma invaded. Like he just tries desperation ganks top against G2 to try and make something happen, otherwise the game's lost. And I feel like he's trying to put out so many fires that there's nothing he can do. So, yeah. I mean, I think the best thing for me so far on Mad Lions is Carsey. I think the Carsey's been...
Yeah. It's interesting because I'm wondering, like, Yoya's obviously spent a lot of time top lane trying to get, like, Chasey rolling. And I'm wondering if that's Mad Lions' read is like, okay, Elyoya obviously wants to... We need Elyoya to facilitate in this meta. Niski isn't going to be our focus. We want to snowball chasing. If that's just like the lane they can snowball. And I wonder if, like, if you're going to play Jarvan, if you're going to play a lot of these like early ganking junglers, if he can just go bot and snowball Carsey, like if that's an option, if the team are ready to do that and try to play around that. I know it's not as good in this meta, but we just want something consistent, right?
Yeah, but the thing is, I think the reason he spends a lot of time on top is because most of the top matchups that he's been playing are on fire. I think first two games he played against us, it was like, I think, Renekton Gnar. Second game, I don't know what it was first game, but I think it was Renekton Gnar again. It might have been 2 games of that. And it's just like, top is kind of volatile, you know, so you can't really ignore it. And they were also on kind of on the losing side. Game 3 against us, it's like Camille Nar, so Camille needs help or she's going to fall behind. So it's, again, kind of high demand top lane. G2 series, I think they had the Renekton Kled game. I think the game they won, the second one, was really, really good. I think he matched Yike a lot on top lane. So it's like most of the top matches that they're playing demand some sort of attention, because I haven't seen him play, you know, like, sure, if you have a Cassante versus Nar or something, you can ignore top, you can go bot and do whatever you want, but they're kind of opting into these matchups that require a little bit of jungle attention. They might also feel like it's an easy way to get the lead, because even though Elyoya has this high resource jungle or like this carry playstyle jungle, even if he plays like Sejuani or Maokai, if he gets one kill, I think he might be that high resource jungle, you know. He might all of a sudden Maokai is a mega carry or Sejuani is a mega carry because she's just like she gets like an influx of gold. So they might be trying to do what you guys are doing to, you know, get Elyoya rolling, but because honestly the easiest way to get someone rolling is to go top lane, because less wards, top laners were kind of stupid, we're kind of always gonna end with our wave and stuff. I mean, we're gonna get baited by a plate or something. You know, we get distracted by butterflies quite easily in that sense. But on bot lane, there's 15 wards that you have to cross. You're gonna walk through mid that is gonna be warded, and I don't know. I feel like it's just a lot harder to kill bot lane. But yeah, I think if they maybe go back, because I think Matt had a phase where Chasey was just playing, you know, self-sufficient counter pick top, play like a Renekton versus a Cassante, or a Gwen versus a Cassante, or a Cassante blind pick, or whatever, something that just doesn't need any help. I think that's when they were doing the best. And when they started going into this, let's put some resources top, it kind of went bad. I think he had some Jace games on top lane that were kind of okay, just because, you know, if you have like Jace Poppy or something, you can cook a lot easier with Elioya when you also have like tools to do something on top and winning top lane 1v1. But when you're picking the losing side of a volatile matchup and you have Elioya needing to cover you, I feel like it's kind of the same as playing to your lose condition. You just try to prevent the enemy winning by defending your lose condition instead of playing to your actual win condition, which I feel like when I look at this Mad roster it's a little bit like the Fnatic thing, where it's just like you should have Healy with Elioya holding hands forever, and your win condition is both, because you have Niski, who's a great facilitator, I think. He's not the same profile as Humanoid, where he will just suck up a lot of resources and make some magic happen. He's just gonna, find good windows to sacrifice a little bit of his resources to get the rest of the map ahead. And I think they should be doing this to both. So I don't know. I feel like Mad, as long as they're doing this thing on top where they're picking volatile matchups, I feel like Elioya is gonna be constantly forced to go there just from the nature of how it looks like.
Yeah, I mean, I like that call out. I would love to see them play more around the bottom side, and the philosophy of playing to win as opposed to playing not to lose, I think is. I mean, if their plan is to bring out the magic that Caedrel highlighted earlier, where it's just go behind early and then team fight late, if that's actually their strategy,
that's some magic.
Fall behind, 2,000 gold and then bring
just
it back
pick Saver and scale, buddy.
Yeah, then maybe covering your weak lane makes sense, but I'm not a big fan of it because it feels like you're just hoping that your opponent isn't good enough to snowball the game. But we'll see. We'll see what version of Mad we get this weekend, and if we get the best version, if they'll take into account any of the things we've talked about. But Mad remain, I think, an enigma. The last team, maybe one of the easier teams to talk about, obviously, is going to be G2 Esports. They had, I think most people would call it as a oopsie game versus Mad. And I think mostly because Caps made there was just a lot of questionable decisions from G2, like blatantly bad decisions in that early game to give Mad the lead. Mad did close it out pretty cleanly. But G2, I think, still everybody's favorite, still looking like the strongest team overall. Like, how do you guys feel about G2 right now? What actually makes G2 good?
I just think that they have some of the best players in every role in the whole region. Like, I think BB is like just a cut above all top laners right now, in my eyes, just in terms of how he plays his lane and like what he's playing. He's playing so many random chunks. Even was it MSI? He was playing Cassiopeia top and stuff like this. He's playing Kled, he's playing Swain, he's playing Yone. So I feel like he's got all of these pocket picks that you never really know what he's going to pull out. If I told you top meta right now was, whatever it was, like Gnar, Renekton, Ornn, or whatever people are normally playing in terms like that, and he's playing like Kled, Swain, Poppy, Yone, it's like, well, what does he look like on normal champs if he needs to play them? I think Yike is just, it's interesting how Yike is like, he plays his carry junglers and then loses, then he plays normal junglers and everything just feels a lot more stable. G2 have been trying to pull off this let's play for jungle style twice now, and it's not worked.
Well, they've tried two AP junglers and both of their version of AP. Maybe they'll pick up the Karthus this week, who knows, or the Talia and replicate some of what
I think their drafts doing. Their drafts when they traded this AP jungle were just bad. Like,
yeah. You talked about this on the desk this weekend, right? It's kind
of
really.
I think it was bad. Even like Fiddlesticks
with fake data.
Yeah, I think it's terrible because you're losing 2v2 top, you're losing 1v1 top. So top, unless you find the 2v1, you're never ever gonna win top. Just from that, it's just like no setup. I feel like it's weird. It's kind of like the thing that Fnatic did, where they had like on Karthus. It's like you're having three losing lanes that don't have any volatility. You can never get the enemy in lethal range. So the Karthus pick was useless, So
that one I agree with 100%. But like that G2 one with the Fiddlesticks, they had like Tristana mid, which I thought like that's push. Then they had like Jinx, Nautilus into Rakan. So I was like, well, I guess they could get pushed there as well. But it was just top that he had to cover all the time. Yeah. That was like the problem, I guess.
But it's just like you look at it, and sure, they have like win conditions. It's not like they have 0 win conditions like Fnatic did. But it's just like when you go from having 50% of your plays or like 60% of your plays are good plays to only having 20% of your plays as good plays. It takes a lot more brain power in the game to cook, to to figure out how to push the enemy into your win condition when your win conditions are so narrow. So I think the Fiddlesticks pick was good, but I would just would have liked to see something else on top instead of the Kled, because I feel like you needed some less volatility and something that is actually maybe winning 1v1 or 2v2. Because, for example, what was it? It was Renekton Ivan versus
Kled
Fiddle.
Yeah.
I mean, when I look at that, I'm like, okay, you're going to lose Herald. You can barely make plays on top unless you find a vision gap and stuff. And they're good enough to find vision gaps and everything. But it's kind of like, you're making it a little bit harder for yourself when you kind of don't need to. Because I don't know, I feel like if they had like something else on top, it would have been a lot easier. But then again, you're going like BB doesn't like playing, Cassante or stuff like this into Renekton, when I feel like BB thrives a lot more when there's like this volatile matchups where he can involve the Ike and make some magic happen around his lane.
Yeah.
Or just matchups that just winning 1v1. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like I think they will pull it out again, because I think in theory it was a nice try, but I would have liked to see maybe a little bit more adaptation on either bot or top with the Fiddle Sticky.
There's some things about G2 which just like make things for me really interesting. Okay, so I'm just going to list some champions, and these are champions that G2 either have played extremely little or they don't play at all. Okay, so Zeri, like Hansama has 2 Zeri games this year and lost them both, and like he never leans into that champ ever. Yike hasn't played a single game of Ivern yet. Like they haven't tried that Ivern style. Caps isn't picking Azir. He just doesn't pick it. He plays Tristana LeBlanc, Nico Jace in the season finals, and before that, he was playing crazy picks. He even played things like Lucian, but Syndra. But he doesn't play that much Azir. I feel like these champs, Azir, Zeri, Ivern, in isolation, are champs which win games for every other team. Like they will always play Azir lanes. Like you guys in XL loved Azir. I feel like Abbedagge Azir was like really, really clutch. Zeri was one of your most played as well, wasn't it? I feel like Patrick was playing a lot of Zeri.
It became first pick for us, I think, at some point throughout scrims or this like season finals. I think Zeri became like our highest prior pick.
Yeah, Broken Blade isn't playing Ornn or anything like that. I mean, he had one Cassante game this season finals as well, which was like insanely good, and he can play like a really good Cassante. But if you look over the course of like the year, he doesn't really lean into like the Ornns or the default top laners to like play standard or safe. There's very little standard champs or scaling champs that G2 play, and so that's why I think their drafts are unpredictable, because you would be like, well, picking Azir here on 3 is good on red side because Jace, Tristana are banned. You can ban out whatever you want. But no, they'll just pick something else. And that's what I think is the hardest thing about G2 to prep for.
Yeah. And I mean, Dylan was pretty explicit in saying this last week when we had him on the show, right? Is that the goal that the team agreed on before Yike even joined the roster, before they even decided on Yike as a jungler, like the thing that they agreed on was they want to be an aggressive team. And when you tell me Zeri, Azir, Ornn, those are not the hallmarks of an aggressive team. Not that you can make plays with them, but it seems very clear that G2 do not want to,
Ivern as well, yeah.
even maybe to a fault, want to leverage any of these scaling picks, right? Like I can see a world where there are drafts where these scaling picks are more optimal and they're maybe staying away from them because it's just not how they want to play the game. I don't know if they're going to be put in a position where that's going to hurt them at all. I don't think so, at least based on what we've seen in the games thus far. But it's a good call out that this is something that they've just clearly avoided just about entirely.
Yeah, I did play Ivern, but they haven't played it since group stage.
He had the one game, right?
Yeah, he had 2 games.
It might just be permabanned, because I feel like he was popping off so hard in the regular season. Because I feel like there was always this meme, that he's only winning on 3 champs, and only 3 as in the 3 in the forest. He was only playing like Maokai and Ivern, and he was just popping off on those champs 24/7. It might just be that they're just perma-banned.
Your series, your 8 or whatever games it was against them, you guys banned it every single game since the BDS series. It's interesting, but it's dropped off a bit. They weren't like they had a game against BDS. The first game they were blue side, they gave it over on the red side. G2 never really banned.
Was it a low open in that one?
Let me have a look. They first picked Rel,
Yeah, because the thing is, I mean, from what I know and my read and their philosophy and everything, is like, I mean, they're just gonna put. They don't care about Ivern. if Rel is open, because Rel just counters Ivan in the jungle, and then
Yeah.
it's just like then you don't care. You can
You break the shields. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just like I feel like I don't know. I feel like it's not that they're limited, that they're not playing these champs. I just feel like
No,
they have a different philosophy, and
Yeah.
they're very comfortable playing into the OPs and countering them, because I feel like there's not a lot of teams that would like to take this, for example, Rel into Ivan and stuff. So it's like you're either ready to play it or you just perma-banning Ivan against G2.
That's the thing with G2, yeah.
It's clear they're very proactive on attacking the meta, and you see this a bit from Razork on Fnatic as well, right? Like they brought out the Eve to try to answer the Ivern, right? Like obviously didn't work. Well played by BDS to get lane prio, shut the Eve down early, make that champ look absolutely useless. In a similar vein, Fnatic are bringing out the Karthus. We've now seen the Fiddlesticks come out against it as well. And so, yeah, I like that they're constantly trying to attack meta picks and that they're clearly cooking. Obviously, there are going to be games where it doesn't work and they're cooking a little bit too much. But yeah, I definitely wouldn't look at it as a weakness until there's a clear moment where where one of these picks was the optimal pick and they're not willing to go towards it. But because of the position they're in as clear favorites, it's like hard to call the lack of desire to play these scaling picks a weakness ever, because clearly they don't need to, right?
Yeah, it's just a case of also how deep is this pool of counter picks. Like the Lissandra support into Rakan was, I think, exceptional. Like that pick just looks super strong into Rakan. They're playing Fiddlesticks and Yone and stuff like this. What else is there? I
mean,
there's maybe some Nocturne draft or something in Italy, a jungle,
Yeah. It's interesting because there is a lot of like solo queue practice that I'm surprised we haven't seen more Nocturne, because there are a lot of our junglers who are playing Nocturne in solo queue. Mickey had been spamming Lissandra in solo queue for a long time on a visible account, right? It's like not even a hidden, it's just like the main account under his name, G2, whatever anime character he's decided to be this week. So I'm curious too, like how quickly G2 are turning over these new picks. I haven't looked at Yikes as closely, and like how much solo queue in this lead up time is indicative of something we might see versus like how much is completely hidden and is only being seen in scrims, or secret accounts in solo queue if they're able to keep those secret.
Yeah, I mean, as a philosophy, I mean, because the thing is that when I worked with Dylan in Schalke, he was like, if you have a lot of solo queue games, you can first time it because you did your research, you did your homework, you can do it, But he does like to have, this process where it goes from solo queue into scrims into stage. So yeah, if there's like solo queue games on it, then most likely it could come out, or he has the Dylan seal of approval.
That's how we get picks like the Vayne, iconically, the Lissandra.
True.
Now I think joining in that, I feel like sometimes like he's like the circus leader. I think you see that from him because he's willing to let his players play these picks. I think he has to put himself in that role so much more often than a lot of the other coaches I see, where he's like, all right, explain to me why Jarvan's support is good in this.
Like every day they have
not even that great.
presentations.
Kled support, like why are we playing Kled support this time? Okay, all right.
They probably have like an internal form you have to submit when you try the new champion.
A Google form.
A Google form. Name of the champion and role.
And most recent. Why is it good? What is it good into?
And then
we'll get back
upload
to you within 3 to 5 working days to let you know if you can play this pick in scrims.
And then upload like a 5-document presentation as to why you think it's good, where you think you'll pick it, and how we should incorporate it into the team. And then we have a meeting the next day, and they go through all the picks of the day. It's like, let's look at like fan mail. They're going through So Mickey, what do we got here? We got Rakan mid. Yeah, no.
I think you overestimate pro players, though. I think if you want your players never to cook, that's what you do. You make them fill out a 5-page document. Every pro player I know would like give up.
It's like reimbursements.
Pro players that would be that committed.
Yeah, I mean reimbursings.
If I tell you, Odo, you can play Yasuo next season. I'm your coach. All right, we'll try Yasuo. We'll scrim it. We can, if it's good, we can run it on stage. But I'm going to need you to submit a 5-page paper and make a presentation to the team on why Yasuo is good. Are you still that excited about Yasuo?
I mean, I kind of had this in Excel, this split. When Rumble became OP, I went to everyone. I said, I have never felt so strong about a champ being so 1v9 as Rumble is on Dispatch. And I had to do a presentation on Rumble on why it's good. So
I take it
What is
back.
your
Pro players are much
presentation?
more committed. I am not that committed to things. This is what I am learning from this discussion.
I had to
respect
make,
your
what
commitment.
was it? What do I need in the game? What's he good into? How does draft need to look like? How do you like to play scenarios? How do you like to play lane? Do you need ganks and everything? So I did have like a 4 or 5 page presentation on Rumble.
Cute.
It did get the seal of approval.
I remember I did. Oh,
it would have been nice to dodge the presentation and just go a little bit on have a little faith, you know.
I mean, you of all people having to convince people to play Rumble when that's like one of your most historic picks is kind of
especially
funny.
that. Like, see if it was Yasuo and you look at me and you're like, did you ever play Yasuo in your 9 years of play? No. Okay, make a presentation. Do the work so we can see you're dedicated to it, you know?
Yeah, that makes sense. Imagine 369 having to give a presentation to play like Ornn when it's not like the most popular meta pick.
But see, the thing is, people have this bias because, for example, if I would say, hey, I want to play Malphite, everyone's like, yes, lock it in. But if it's like anything,
champion's brain dead. They know exactly. They read the kit one time. They understand what the pick does.
If it's a tank, if I say I want to play a brand new tank, everyone's like, oh, that's so nice of you. Go play your little tank. Be happy. But if I say I want to play something that is not a tank or a little bit of a carry, they're like, did you play 20 games? How many games of solo queue you have this year with this champion? Okay, make a presentation so your teammates know how to play with it. I'm like, okay.
That's good due diligence, at least. It makes sense when you're trying to inform the teammates, when it's not just pitching to the coach.
I remember in Excel, I did one presentation because my team was dying to ganks every single scrim, like level 3 ganks, level 2 ganks. I had to sit there with like 20 different junglers and talk about their fastest ways to gank bot, mid, and top. And then teach them like the timing windows that they'll get ganked. Because they were like, I asked them, I was like, what time do you think you're going to get ganked bot if it's a level 3 gank? And they're like, well, I don't know. I'm just laning. I'm just like, perfect.
Did it work?
It's like season 5, season 6
it worked.
Odo.
Really? It worked?
It worked.
Oh,
I told them all the timers and stuff. And I don't think they learned anything. They just like realized I'm really upset that I'm making a presentation about them dying to ganks. And they're like, okay, fine. I'll try not to die to ganks anymore. And then eventually after a few weeks, it started again. So I was like, you know what? Shit.
God damn. Hey, at least they respected you enough to be scared of you when you were mad and try to pay attention.
That's something.
I was like, look at this blue grump red. Where is he? He's like, oh, he's bot. Yeah, okay, now don't die.
Back in those times, junglers were psychotic. I remember I was playing against Broxa, and I was red side, and a little Broxa does red into gank top. So he just did one camp, did the mega sprint to top lane, dodge all the wards with Jarvan, jump over all the walls, gank top at 220. He was right there killing me, and I was like, well, I don't know what to do. I'm just bad, I guess.
I've seen my bot lane on blue side, die to a Skarner that does blue buff into bot. I've seen that. I've seen them die to it. Blue buff into bot on red side. It works.
What is he? What is he? WE? QE?
Yeah,
what
QE.
What abilities does he have at level 2?
Flash E auto stun. Dead.
Oh my
Perfect.
God.
Absolutely.
That's
shout out to whatever bot lane you played with, bro. That's a roughie. That's a scrim you don't come back from on an emotional level.
Was it Patrick ADC?
No, it wasn't Patrick.
Okay. Depends on Patrick's mood.
I'm just trying to think.
When Patrick's feeling it, bro, scrims are over.
Yes.
Bless him. Anyway, on subject to G2, I think just to close out G2 are the clear favorites right now. We'll see how deep the champion pools go. They're not infallible, as we saw in Game 2. They make mistakes, but so far they have always recovered from those mistakes. So it's just like they are the clear favorites for this weekend. It is safe to say. I hope we get 5 games. I hope someone can figure them out. So it's an intense final. But I think that based on the inconsistency of Mad and the relative predictability of Fnatic, I feel like putting any other team as your favorite is kind of crazy. Fair to say?
Yeah. So wait, you're predicting G2 to win?
I was going to do predictions after Twitter questions, but let's just do predictions now.
Oh, let's do Twitter questions. Oh yeah, let's do predictions now, then Twitter questions. Yeah.
We can close out on Twitter questions. So prediction now, I'm going to say Fnatic over Mad because despite the fact that every time I predict against Mad, they finally manage to show up and win, I cannot believe in this team. Mac even gave me their secret formula to success in a public-facing interview, and I don't know what team they're going to emulate this week to get Elyoya and Hylissang on the same page or whatever, but like I don't believe it. If they win, I won't be surprised, but I can't bet on Mac. Or sorry, can't bet on Mad, not Mac. Love you, Mac. So yeah, Fnatic going to the finals, facing G2, losing to G2. Hopefully in 5 games, could be as little as 3 though.
Yeah, I feel like the easy prediction is Fnatic and then G2. So you know what I'm gonna say? I'm gonna say Fnatic, and then they're gonna win the title, and G2's gonna flop the finals like last year.
Next week on Caedrel's Twitter, announcing partnership with Fnatic.
Yeah.
That is a banger. That's a banger prediction, Mark. I'm not gonna lie. That's.
Nah, you gotta be a bit wild with it. You know, I feel like G2 winning is like probably gonna happen, but you know what?
Like
Well, throw me a Fnatic wins. Wunder comes in, beats his old team, like takes the trophy after being on the bench for 6 months.
He's just absolutely blippoing it right now.
I mean, Wunder was there in Malmo last year. He lost, and now he's been cooking for 6 months on the bench, preparing for this moment. And now he's back at the next land. He's here, and then
Wunder and Trimby, enemies turn to allies. Last finals, Trimby had to slay Wunder. Now they have to tag team to take down. It's really just Avengers Endgame if you think about it, and G2 are Thanos. If you think about it, it's just all the heroes coming together.
I'm sure there's a photo.
It's like Hawkeye.
Humanoid finally motivated. Wunder finally playing League of Legends. Razork finally allowed to play carries. Noah just got here. Doesn't have really any place in this rivalry, but he's here and he's having a good time. Trimby, former champion, there to reclaim. I'm just saying.
Noah's like the Guardians of the Galaxy. He just rocks up. He's like, let's fight Thanos.
All right, sick. He's Rocket.
Photoshop of Caps. You guys always know that picture of Caps when he like looks at who was he looking at, and he was just smiling with his like dorky face, the one that everyone loves. What is it? He was looking at Jankos. I think it's a pasta from last year or something.
Yeah.
Every time he's trying to explain the joke, and he just looks at you like this, and he's like super happy,
Yeah.
I feel like there has to be a Photoshop of him in Thanos about to like snap his fingers and just obliterate everything, So I don't know, man. I think Fnatic will beat Mad because I don't know. It's just I'm feeling it, but I think G2 will win. Even though, I mean, for the sake of it, I'm just gonna say Mad Lions against Fnatic and wins the whole split. There we go. The most Lions thing to do.
We've covered all of our bases. I have made the obvious prediction, and you have both.
Yeah, we can't be boring,
really just cooked it up. So we've covered. You can let us know whose prediction you think is the best. We haven't covered every possible option, but that's basically it. We have a Fnatic victory, a Mad victory, and a G2 victory across all.
Yeah. Easy clap.
I mean, people can say we're boring now, because if all of us 3 said G2 would win, everyone would protest.
They can only say one of us is boring, and it's me, because you're both absolutely cooking right now, which is respectable.
Cooking.
Yeah. Zed, haven't done Twitter questions in a long time. We asked for questions on Twitter. There were a ton of them. One of the big ones that's been kind of consistent across this is feelings on the format. We've had a year now with the LEC format. Odo, I think I'll go to you first because it makes sense. What do you like about it? What do you think is hard for you when you think about this format?
I mean, I think the format has huge potential. I think it just needs a little bit of tweaking. One thing that I thought was really sus was that, I mean, in a way, it's fair that if you suck really hard the first 2 splits, then it should be kind of impossible to make season finals. Because for us, when we went into summer split, we were like, if you don't make top 2, you're out. So it kind of just like, it screws with you a little bit, because it's like, why have a format where you can be out already after like the first 3 months of the year, So it needs a little bit of tweaking there. I think the thing that would make this format be completely ballistic is if you just have roadshow for every single final. Because I think people look at the LEC, or like the main criticism that I see about the LEC this year is the format, because they're like, oh, there's just so many finals everywhere. Everyone is winning. So it feels like all of the finals are useless. But it's also because you're just doing them in the studio. It's like you get little Timmy that is there every week in the studio watching you win. It's the same as watching you win a regular season, but then you have like the shield at the end, and it's like you get to lift the shield, and then in 2 weeks a new split starts, and then you get to win it again in the same studio. So I don't know. I feel like if you had, let's say you had the atmosphere from Malmo last year for your winter final, and then you have Montpellier, for example, from this year for your spring, and you just have like 3 road shows or 4 road shows even, I feel
Yeah.
like it would make all of those finals feel like an actual crowning achievement, you know? Because right now, if you win in the studio, it's like everyone has like an asterisk a little bit to the Mad Lions runs, you know, where they won in the studio, and they're like, no one really glorifies that as much as they should, just because they're like finals that are played in a studio or like online or whatever. So I don't know. I think with some tweaking to the points system and maybe a little bit better formatting, yeah. And like road shows, I think are a must, because I mean, the fans live for that shit. So I don't know. I feel like it needs it needs some more traveling and some more energy that you get from, you know, the lands.
I get that. I don't really know, because I'm not like a team that works on roadshow, what the logistics are of that, but I definitely understand the feeling of like wanting the finals of an individual season to feel more significant. Because I think in winter, it felt sick. It felt like a big deal, even though we were playing in the studio. But by the time we did 3 at the end of the year, you know, and I was admittedly gone for summer, I was like, meh. You know, it was like, all right.
Yeah, you're like, oh, we already had this.
Yeah, it was just like another chunk of the year. It was the same thing again, you know, and it didn't really have that same. And like the thing is like our comparison point, to go back to the old format, is like, do I want that long of a regular season again? No, you know, but I did like the hype in the past of like always leading towards this big road show.
That hype was
always
great.
Leading towards that big spectacle, that big moment, you know.
Yeah, agreed. I think I share. But I don't know. The finals just didn't really feel like finals. They just felt like any other series. And then the celebration at the end didn't really feel like we're celebrating much. I think the breaks were too long as well. Yeah, I think the season finals gap was very long. So
I didn't touch on this. I didn't touch on this, but this one is a huge thing, I think, for you guys.
That you think the gap in season finals, or the amount of games played each week in season finals?
No, that like the break from summer to season finals. Yeah.
Because I can get how that kills momentum.
Yeah, momentum I felt like got a bit killed by it. I think the last thing as well is like in the group stage, best of threes, I think there should be cross play for losing teams rather than being stuck on your own side of the bracket, if that makes sense.
Because your group can just... Yeah, I mean, you didn't like... It's not like we had disastrously different groups.
But I think you definitely could.
Yeah, but I like crossplay. I like more opportunities for different teams to play each other in best of.
Yeah, we had the spring, I think it was Koi versus G2. Koi beat G2, and then they met in loser bracket, and then G2 beat Koi, and then Salt happens, you know? But if you have cross group, where I feel like losers play the other group, I feel like it adds a little bit more hype that, you know, you don't lose anything by doing it, you know?
Basically secure getting the best team in most cases, because otherwise you're just getting a rematch of like the Fnatic SK. You get a rematch, Fnatic reworks and they get better and they win, which is like the only interesting story of like, we lost them, now we beat them. But it's also like, well, if you lost them and beat them, what about the team in the other group? Are you both better than them and one of you's now out? It's like,
yeah, I think that I personally like that more, but I think there are probably arguments for both sides, in the sense that it's like, one, you have that path of redemption, like you get better. The worst version of that is we watch you lose to the same team twice, which is really boring. The other version of that is like you dodged the good team because you swap groups and like sentence someone else to death. So like, yeah, Koi gets to fight whoever and prove that they're good, but then someone else just walks up to the G2 firing line, let's say. And so I don't think I prefer cross group play, because I think it gives more potential to see new matches. That's what I ultimately care about, because I think that there are going to be situations where it feels good to jump over to the other group, and there are going to be situations where it feels really shit to jump over to the other group. But new matches, for me as a fan at least, always does sound more interesting. So that's like, I like that idea. I think that's cool. As far as breaks go, it's like, yeah, this year's kind of tricky. I'm not sure what the format looks like when Asia games, et cetera, aren't there. I do think that it was funny that people were upset about like the quantity of, like, we played 2 best of 5s a week forever, for every year of League of Legends. So it was weird to me when that was a complaint, but I definitely understand like wanting not these breaks, wanting to continue to see these things go week after week in the League of Legends.
They're jarred by the 2 best of 5s per week now rather than last year. It's because every other region's been wrapped for weeks now. And it's like, it's going to drag on to like almost a month after all the regions are finished.
But
whereas like last year, it was still during their playoffs, I think. So it was kind of like things were overlapping. So it was kind of more hidden.
About this format is so different, right? That the schedules just don't sync quite in the same way. And obviously some of that is because there are break weeks, and some of those break weeks are necessary. You want to give people the time to reset, right? But I don't know. I'm optimistic that it's only going to get better now that we have information under our belt to make a better decision as the LEC. But yeah, we'll just have to see for next year. I think what you guys saying though is super valid. Going ahead. Boop, 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 boop. This is an easy question. Sassy FPS specifically asks, as a person who's listened to many co-streams, etc., please ask the pro and previous pro, why do pros always say it's over, it's done, it's unwinnable now after almost every fight in the game, even if it's something that happened in the 3rd minute? Why are you guys so pessimistic? Why do you always talk about how doomed the game is?
God. Okay, the thing is,
I don't need an in-depth answer for the record. You don't have to go too long on this one.
It's just this game is so frustrating. Solo queue is so frustrating that the only way to cope and get 100 games a day is to emotionally detach yourself from the game as early as possible. That's why at minute 5, if a game is really messed up, you're like, it's over. So you don't just pour your emotion into it, because you have that little tryhard in a game that is like the shot caller trying to coordinate everyone, pouring everything he has into a game. And you have a terrorist in the background that is just completely throwing your game. So the thing is, if you go full cope and you emotionally detach yourself as early as possible, the disappointment doesn't hurt as much anymore.
Lower your expectations, never be disappointed.
Yeah.
That was I'm actually caught off guard by how good that answer was, Odo. That's a very succinct answer. That actually makes a lot of sense. I thought it was just it would have been like a gameplay thing where you're just like, oh, he's 400 gold ahead, and now it's just might as well be doomed if he plays well. But I actually really like the point. It's which all those things may also be true, but it's just you're just you're going to play this game, and as in a 5-player team-based game where you're not in comms with your opponents, a lot of the agency is out of your hands. So I actually like that. It sounds, because it initially sounds when you say it's doomed, it's over, that it's kind of like this toxic thing, but it's it's actually kind of a self-preservation strategy. I have to respect
it is.
Other big thing to talk about, we've got a couple of questions about this. We can do maybe one more fun one after this one and then close out for the day. It's getting to be a bit of a longer episode. BDS Golden Guardians, boys. The banger
Oh my God.
Of the century.
Why are people worried? It's a 3-0 for BDS.
Guaranteed best of 5 between EU and NA this year. The only guaranteed one.
I'm so happy actually there's a guaranteed best of 5. That's so hype. Even though it's such a complete, it's not irrelevant. It's obviously very important, but it's such low stakes in the grand scope of worlds, crowning a world champion and everything. Yeah. You have such a meaningless game because it's literally the smallest cog in the wheel, but it's so hype. It's literally what everyone has been waiting for the whole year. I love it.
I believe in BDS. That's what I will say. I will also say that I've watched exactly 2 games of Golden Guardians this year thus far. I will, of course, I think I might end up casting that series. I'm not sure, but I will prep for that. So I will watch Golden Guardians. NA fans, don't worry. But right now, I don't have to do shit because I'm not casting anything now. BDS.
If you cast it, just be biased as hell and just say you're really nice.
We'll see. If they give me someone next to me who's also biased as hell, then hell yeah.
That would be the double so bias cool.
Cast.
It would be so much better. The best of 5, you and Mark C just go in.
That would be amazing.
Each other's teams.
Yeah, roast each other's team. Oh, nice bot dive, Mark. That's a double kill for the boys.
Yeah. Wait, can we get one more feature on who he's backstory? Can you add the part where he's getting bodied? Yeah,
that would be great, man. I would love to see as much bias as possible.
Yeah,
I think
I'll add it to my list of incredibly biased casts.
Do you have any game on that list of incredibly biased casts so far?
So from some fans' perspective, yes. But the only one that I objectively know was biased was when you and Yankos were playing at Katowice, because I was a young caster at this point. It's 26, probably 2017 Katowice, when you were still with Prawley, and it was that gang. I think it wasn't the Forgiven roster. It might have been Nuclear and
it's Nuclear Che. It's 2017.
Nuclear Che. But the entire, believe it or not, the Polish audience was much more excited whenever you guys did something than when the enemy team, I think Flash Wolves in this case, did anything. And I didn't know how to handle that as a young caster. So every time you guys did anything, I was like, it's the greatest thing in the world. Because there's like a million people cheering behind me. And then Flash was doing things. I was like, hey, that was pretty sick. Like not understanding that I am like zero discipline, just following the energy of the crowd. So I literally said, oh, no. That was great. I said, oh, no, when you guys lost the game.
Flash Wolves is winning and Drakos is like, oh no!
Oh no, H2K. Oh yeah, so that was just unashamedly not just like horrible casting for me. Maybe for the Polish fans, they were excited, but from an objective casting standpoint, that was certainly not it.
Oh man. That's great.
At least I was biased for you and Yankos though, so I stand by it. Screw it. I was young. Last question. Favorite artist to perform a world song? Really easy. From @9Vulpus. I was getting nervous.
Daniel Drakos and Vidius.
I have a surprise coming out. I'm kidding. That would be sick though.
Man. Wait, so favorite artist to perform a world song?
Like, is there anyone that you would want to see on a world song? Odo, I don't actually know a lot about what you listen to in terms of music.
I think Kendrick Lamar would be cool.
Kendrick Lamar would be crazy. That would be very not Kendrick Lamar, but that would be sick.
Yeah. I listen to rap and techno mostly, but feel like I don't know, man. Every time they have like some orchestra, like the thing is the orchestra in Malmo was like bonkers. So for example, I don't know if they have some like orchestral shit to do.
It's Hans Zimmer, bro. It's Hans Zimmer.
Yes. Yeah, actually it is Hans Zimmer. It is
world
Hans Zimmer.
Song. That would go hard.
Yes,
bro. I would, as a world song,
cry. I would unironically cry.
It would be good. Okay, but imagine this. Imagine 3 years in the future, or whenever in the future, there's finally like a first reveal trailer of the MMO, and you find out all of the music is by Hans Zimmer. I would literally shit my pants.
That's even better because then they teased us like with the world thing.
Bro, love me some Hans Zimmer.
It would give me like the vibes, you know, it would give me exactly the vibes I had when I was like 12 or something and I first saw the cinematic of World of Warcraft Classic when you go into the game.
Ooh, yeah.
And then you get to see the dwarf and then the drums and everything and everyone just fighting to the death. And I'm like, I would get exactly the same vibes from Hans Zimmer. I would just sit there and cry and I would be like 30 something, but I would cry. It would be that good. I don't know, Hans Zimmer, if he does some world songs, it would be bowling.
Hans Zimmer, let us know. Big fan of the podcast, I've heard. Hit us up. I have no connections to the Riot Music team, but we can let's make something happen. Hans Zimmer, add him, let him know. We're interested.
I'm on Twitter.
The only thing that's likely to come from this is me getting in trouble. but maybe, just maybe Hans Zimmer. Yeah, that's it, gang. So we have 3 different predictions for the finals. Montpellier, Friday is EMEA Masters finals. If you're an EMEA Masters fan, K-Corp is playing. Even if you're not an EMEA Masters fan, you just have to watch because if anyone other than K-Corp starts winning, it's going to be crazy. If K-Corp starts winning, it's going to be crazy. So I think EMEA Masters finals is just going to bang. To be completely honest, there's an opening ceremony. Don't know a whole ton about it on the finals day, but I'm sure it will be dope.
Hans Zimmer's there.
Hans Zimmer is there, yeah.
Surprise Hans Zimmer, baby. Where is he showing up?
He's a K-Corp fan.
Imagine. Who isn't a part of the Blue Wall, really? Aren't we all?
True. The ultras.
You can't admit to someone publicly that you're not a part of the Blue Wall.
I love Blue Wall.
I love the Blue Wall. Bless up. Phase up. Wait, blue up. Phase up.
But your wall is brown. You're a liar.
Wall up. This is a red wall, and it's because I live every moment of my life in fandom of the Blue Wall. I need some contrast at home.
That's true. Nice save.
Thank you. Your wall is white, Mark. I don't know why you're coming in here like both of you.
It's because I haven't bought the place. I can't paint over it.
That's not how it works.
Wait, if you rent, can you paint the walls?
You just have to put it back. But like you're gonna have to repaint when you leave anyway. You've lived there for so long. So
I bought something to hang up a jersey with T1 signatures.
Oh yeah, I'm supposed 4 months ago.
I bought it 4 months ago. It's been sitting in a box.
You told me we were going to do it a year ago, so it's impressive.
Okay, maybe it was longer than 4 months. But you think I can paint the wall when that's been sitting there for almost a year?
No, you're right. You'd probably have to pay someone to do that. But you could do that maybe. Regardless, this is it for EUphoria. It's been a wonderful year. I'm not sure what the podcast plans are for the international events, but we'll keep you guys
we're
posted.
Done. That's it.
I'm not... I apologize because I probably should have done some due diligence before we started this episode to figure out what the plan was for international podcasts. But we'll keep you guys posted on X, Twitter, Instagram, wherever. So keep your eyes peeled. It'll probably be coming through on lolesports when we do global stuff. But yeah, this is it. Thank you, Odo, for being here. Thank you for your wonderful stories of past days and your Yasuo top, which you have to play
It's
now.
coming. It's coming.
It's coming.
January, you will see me split with some minions.
Odoamne 2.0. Gonna push E and Q in some order.
Hasaki.
Which order? You're gonna have to find out. Hasaki indeed. Yeah, tune in. Montpellier this weekend. This has been episode 20. Insert episode 3.
It's been an episode.
This has been an episode.
Yeah.
It's episode 23. I have an extra monitor now, unlike at the desk where we normally do it. Thank you to everyone for tuning in. I forgot to mention this was a remote episode. I trust you can all figure that out if you're in podcast land and the audio sounds better or worse. It's because we're remote. So yeah, we'll see you next year and maybe a little bit at Worlds as well. Thanks for watching.
Catch you later, gang.